For all you Groundhoppers out there, this podcast is for you. This is the FANA Fan Podcast, and I'm Topliss, and for all you Groundhoppers out there, this podcast is for you. A massive thank you to fabulous Amy McIntosh for tonight. We're joined by Sam, Joe, Angus, and Ollie, better known as Lockin. How are you, lads? How are we doing?
No,
very well. Thanks for having us on.
Good.
Well, thank you for coming. Never had a boy band on before, so this will be very interesting. Very interesting. So, Sam, Joe, Angus, and Ollie, how did you all get into football? Sam, let's go with you first.
I must have started when my dad sort of started taking me to games. I must have been about 4 or 5 when he first started, and then just went from there. He wanted someone to go with. I went with him. Been married to it ever since, really.
Been a roller coaster of a ride over the years with Arsenal as well.
Yeah, so it's only this year that we're sort of starting to reap the rewards again.
Absolutely. The old Arsenal starting to return. One that I'm sure we all grew up watching.
Fingers crossed.
Well, not for me being a Liverpool fan, but yeah. And then we've got so you three, Joe, Angus, and Ollie, West Ham as well. Yeah. How did it start for you three, Joe?
I mean, I always played at school and outside of school, but Dad's a diehard West Ham fan, and I think if you ask him any sort of day in the past sort of 20 years, he could tell you who West Ham played and what the scoreline was and stuff like that, and it sort of got passed down. I think I remember the first game he ever took me to, West Ham Brighton at Upton Park. I mean, it was probably about -5, and I was freezing my tits off. But it's all about the memories, I suppose, isn't it? We lost as well, which makes it even better. But
oh dear.
No, it's good. And I'm a season ticket holder now, so it's something to do, and I enjoy going with my family. So yeah, no, it's good.
Fantastic. What about you, Angus?
So when I was young, my neighbour opposite, he supported West Ham. He took me to a few games at Upton Park. And I remember the first game I went to was, I think it was Stoke in the Cup. And I remember, do you remember Ken Wynne-Jones?
Yes.
Yeah, he scored. I remember he scored a brace. I think we won the game, but yeah, since then I've just been a massive diehard West Ham fan.
Ollie, what about you?
My first ever game, I think, was at Harlow Town, so local boy. Going out to Harlow, it was someone like Billy Rickey. I think we played, but like Billy Rickey's third squad or something like that. Ended up losing about 4 or 5-0, I think. So that was my first experience. It went with my dad. My brother must have been about 5, 6 years old. Just remember being really petrified of the bloke banging the drum on the other stand. But yeah, my family is West Ham through and through, so just kind of it was in the blood. So it was about time that if it wasn't Harlow, local boy, it must have been West Ham. So
I'm right in saying there's 5 of you in the band, 4 of you West Ham. Sorry, 4 West Ham. 1 of you is Arsenal. What's that like then on a match day?
We usually try and keep the group chat quiet. I don't like to wind people up with football results because I know that there's every chance that it could come back to bite me in the arse.
Yeah, well, Sam, you say that, but our manager supports Tottenham, and every time Tottenham lose, we're constantly giving it to him.
That's because it's Spurs, and everyone hates Spurs.
Yeah, true.
It's not just you, like Chelsea as well. I think the what's the song called? Liquidator. We hate Tottenham, Chelsea. Yeah, that's how it goes apparently. So yeah, not the only teams. But had some famous moments, West Ham versus Arsenal, between you over the years.
Yeah. I remember when Carroll scored a hat-trick, Sam.
Yep, that was a 3-3 draw. That won't exit my mind. I remember first game of the season, you beat us 2-0. Reece Oxford pocketed Ozil when he was 16 years old. That will never leave my mind.
I remember that game.
Yeah. But then there are quite a few other games that positive results for us. They stay in the mind as well. So
yeah, I remember that game really well. Arsenal losing. Reece Oxford, he played really well, but like his goal, Petr Cech just dissolved into the ground, didn't he? Did he even
Yeah.
try? A bit like that Fabian Barthez one. Do you remember that one where he's like that?
Yeah.
Just fell over.
So I've heard that Petr Cech is now playing in goal for Chelmsford ice hockey team.
That's true.
That must have been a sign of things to come. Can't play in the Premier League anymore. Has to go to ice hockey.
That's literally down the road from us. We should definitely go and watch.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he's first pick.
he's got to be.
Let's have someone experienced in it as a goalie anyway. So let's talk about the band then. So Locking, how did that start?
Sam?
Pretty much just started. Well, I think just us being mates. We all went to the same school, so Ollie was a year above us and Joe a few years above us. But we just kind of went, just start a band. Be quite cool, wouldn't it? Gus was the only one that could play an instrument. He could play drums, but for some reason we thought we'd put him on guitar. And it was just, for the first, I'd say, year, it was just musical chairs for, you play this, you can play that, you can't play that very well, so you swap over to that. But no, so we've just all sort of grown together, and it's coming into fruition now. We're all really enjoying ourselves.
Yeah, our band was originally called 34 Handshakes, and yeah, interesting name. There's actually some interesting names that the band was going to be called. I think one of them, Ducks in the Attic. But yeah, I think all of us just really love music, and that's ultimately what sort of brought it all together in the end. So yeah, it's going well.
Oh, do you remember the very first song you ever written together?
Oh, very first.
Yeah,
I think I've tried to erase it from my mind because it was that awful.
Yeah. there are ones from a couple of months back that we look at and go, maybe not. So very first, can't remember what it was called.
Wasn't it Play With My Hair? Wasn't it that one?
It might have been, to be fair.
That or Teenager, which is the first song we released, I think possibly is the first song we wrote as Lock-In.
Did you all write it as as a band, or do you normally leave the songwriting to one of you?
We all write together, really. I think we all like for the single we got coming out tonight, and the last one before as well. They're all written in the room together. Someone usually comes with an idea, and then we just build from that. Sort of like add all the ingredients, and then a song comes. I think a song probably goes through like 5 or 6 different versions before we get to the final piece. But I think that's how you get a good song. Though, just sort of get rid of the rubbish bits and then add all the good bits, and then you get the final masterpiece.
Those 5 and 6 different versions, it's just starts off slow. Just go, just make it a little bit quicker, bit quicker than the other one, bit quicker again.
Is that the hardest part of finishing off a song, then? Finishing it rather than starting?
Yeah, definitely. I think it is. Starting, when you're starting, there's not so much pressure on it. You're sort of just playing together. But when you actually realise that you've got an idea and you've got to try and finish it, that's when you start overthinking things. And I think the easiest time to write a song is when you're not overthinking it. Yeah. So starting's 100% easier.
Yeah.
Fair play. I've got to ask you there, 34 handshakes.
Yeah.
Whose idea was that then?
that has to. Yeah, I think I have to fess up. That's one of mine. As was Ducks in the Attic. I don't really have any reasoning behind them. It's just translating what comes from the brain onto a bit of paper. I did come up with one before we went with Lock-In that I'm still back to this day as being quite good. It's just the word woof.
Woof?
Yeah.
There's actually a funny story behind that as well, which came a bit later on. When we played Truck Festival this year, we met Charlie from Blossoms, and we were talking to him about band names, and we were talking about the band names, other band names, and we said Woof, and he said he preferred Woof to Lock-In. So
And you still do to this day, is that right?
Yeah.
No. And is that a no-go for the rest of you? Locking all the way?
Yeah,
definitely locking all the way.
I came up with a name, so I'm definitely locking. Yeah. I'm in favour of locking, so biased.
You could have just said there, I picked the name and I locked it in.
Six, that's usually your forte. I would have expected you to get that.
Yeah, I'm going to be quiet for the rest of this now.
Well,
Playing my own game.
Outnumbered in band names and outnumbered in football clubs as well. Supported. On a roll there. And what made you think of ducks in the attic and not anything different? Never quite an unusual one.
Again, I don't really think there can be much rhyme or reason put to it. It was just name a couple of nouns, couple of prepositions, whack it all in. There you go.
It is hard to know what goes on inside a sounder's mind most of the time. So
I was going to say
that's not the most weird thing I'm sure he's ever said.
Yeah, I was going to say it's interesting how you to us this is just normal, but obviously you find this quite interesting. But to us, we're just like, oh, it's Sam. It's just sort of thing he comes up with.
It's sort of how we got to the FANA Fan Podcast more than anything, anyway. Yeah, it's a weird one to think of something. But so yeah, I mean, you talk about writing songs there. Amy told me a story. Apparently, so England have just beaten Denmark in the Euro semi-final. What happened next, lads?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
I know what happened next. Gus, do you know what happened next? Ollie, do you know what happened next? Am I taking the reins?
Yeah, take the reins. I should know.
Well, I'll set one of you up for it. We drove up to London to a studio.
Oh, that was after the Denmark game.
Recording studio.
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Are we talking about the West Ham music video?
We're talking about the West Ham
music video.
So
we were very lucky to get the opportunity to film. Basically, we did like a collaboration with West Ham, and it was the start of last season. It was the kit reveal, so they did like a cool, like a cool video, and basically we went and played one of our songs like with the West Ham media team, and then they put a video together basically of like us, and then it would like alternate to the West Ham players like dancing in their kit to like our song. So yeah, we went up to a studio like just after the Denmark game last year, and we were lucky enough to have the opportunity to film that, and that was unbelievable because obviously 4 of us are like massive West Ham fans, and like even to this day I still watch the video. Like it was mega.
Wow, I watched it this afternoon after Amy sent it me. I thought that is impressive.
Yeah,
just the song, the way it was edited, everything. I thought it was fantastic. Like, well done.
Yeah, it was a really good experience.
Yeah, smashing. Yeah. And not just kit launchers, Soccer AM. Tell me about that one. I used to love waking up on a Saturday morning to watch that.
Yeah, I think with Soccer AM, we've always said our fan base is very like, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's massively football, but we have quite a big sort of, a lot of our fans have got like a love for football. So it's sort of a program which is music and football put together. Yeah. So it's kind of perfect. So we got the last single Van Dross played on Soccer AM as well, and it's kind of weird actually when the music starts playing and Goals of the Week's on, because it's your tune and you're watching some amazing goals. So it's good, and we've some of us had the opportunity to go and watch it in the studio as well, which is also a great experience, and it's so different to what it actually looks like on the TV. But yeah, we love it. We love Soccer AM. And yeah, it's changed over the years, but it's still the same bread and butter, and I don't think you can really beat it.
Yeah, I miss Alan Chamberlain a little bit, I'll be honest. But,
yeah,
but I mean, they used to do like a Goals of the Week for every single league. I know they only do it once now, but just think how many songs you could have had on, with every single league. You know what I mean? And it helps bands like yourselves get your work out there.
This season they've been really good. There's been loads and loads of up and coming bands play, because this is the first season they've had bands back playing since COVID. So I mean, our good mate Spangle played on there a few weeks ago, and they smashed it. And loads of other bands, like Pastel, up and coming, who are doing really well, been featured on there as well. So and that's good to see them actually, instead of putting on big bands, putting on small bands, and actually giving them a platform, and stuff like that. Because whenever we've been played on there, you get massive boost in listens and follows. So yeah, no, it's good.
And that's all it takes, isn't it? People find out who you are and where to find you. It's all right, that one. Add to playlist.
Yeah.
Have you played on Soccer AM? Sure.
No, never.
No, we haven't yet, but hopefully, fingers crossed, the opportunity. Well, if we're lucky enough, obviously that would be an amazing opportunity in the future.
I think that'd be a dream for all of us, really.
Yeah.
So that'd be our first TV live appearance.
Yeah, I don't think you can beat that in terms of TV live appearances.
Jules Holland, maybe.
Yeah, you know what I mean. We're not going to get on that straight away, are we?
Well, the more you put into it, lads, the more you get out of it. Keep it going. And you say your first TV gig. Make sure it's the first of many TV gigs.
Yeah.
Hey.
I've done one. Let's do it again.
Go on next season.
Next season, yeah. So also not just West Ham, but Brentford as well. What about that one?
Yeah, we were quite lucky with that. I mean, we know a guy who does all their media on there, Stu. He used to work for Soccer AM, funnily enough. We met him at DMA's gig, and sort of introduced ourselves. So this is me and Benj actually at DMA's gig, and introduced ourselves and we sort of said who we were, and he liked the tunes. And I think we got played before one of the games at the end of last season, and then we got put on. I Caught Feelings got put on their goals of the season montage on their Instagram, which is obviously amazing. It's really good to get out there and get our music played to different types of fans as well. So yeah, we were very happy about that. And I think I Caught Feelings and played. I can't remember what song got played, but being played in an actual football stadium as well is pretty mega. We've never had that before, so yeah.
What got played before a game? You mean?
Yeah, like in their match day playlist.
I'm pretty sure it was the last game of last season.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I was watching Arsenal Brighton with my dad. I mean, I got a text from our manager just saying it's been played. Looking for videos from the stadium now.
Wow, fantastic! How do these things come about? How do these opportunities come about?
It's hard to say, really, isn't it? It's sort of meeting people and just being positive and being friendly and getting your name out there. And I think that if you come across as nice people, then people are more inclined to do favors for you. And if they like your music, then there's no reason why they shouldn't.
Absolutely. Keep that one going. And also, was it the Bobby Moore Fund as well? He did some work for as well. How did that one go?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky enough to be part of the Bobby Moore Foundation for the November Keep Up Challenge, which was good fun. And I know Joe and Benji went to, was it the Bobby Moore sort of yearly event thing? You're probably best to take the floor, Joe, because we weren't there. It was you and Benj.
They did a they do it every year. They do like a celebrity quiz, hosted by Clive Tilsley. And we were lucky enough to go. Me and Benj went along, and yeah, it was really, really nice. It's such a great foundation. It's part of cancer research, to be fair, and it's like an offshoot. And it was just an amazing night. David Seaman was sitting a few tables away from us. There's loads and loads and loads of just sort of football legends. Me and my brother, obviously being massive West Ham fans, we got out of the taxi, started walking to the front door, and Trevor Brooking was walking right next to us. Obviously, huge legend of the game. So that was a bit surreal, to be fair. And I just finished work and changed clothes and went there. So yeah, that was a pretty surreal moment. But it's a great for a great cause, and it's great to see loads of big footballers getting involved, like Harry Kane as well. So yeah, no, we're big fans of that, especially being West Ham fans. So yeah.
Trevor Brooking of all people. One of the biggest names. Obviously, he's worked with the FA as well. Did you say hello to him?
No, we didn't. We bottled it completely.
Oh.
No, we didn't. Wish I had in hindsight, but there we go.
Well, I'm sure there'll be another time.
Hopefully.
Another time to host the quiz. So Amy tells me about European trips.
Yeah, I think Benji's not in here. Went on a few last season, but he told me them all about a million times, so I can definitely recall them for you. But I think as West Ham fans, we can all agree that last season was pretty dreamy. Obviously, getting as far as we could in the Europa League. I mean, a lot of us went to the home games, which were just mental. And then Benj went out to Lyon and Frankfurt, I want to say.
Yeah.
I remember I was round Gus's watching the Frankfurt get. Was it Frankfurt or was it Lyon? That was Lyon. Whilst he was out there, we were just getting videos sent, sort of every 5 minutes, of him just getting progressively drunker and drunker.
Yeah.
There's videos. I've still got my phone. There's videos of him and my dad because they went out together. In this bar, and there's like holes in the roof where like bottles have been thrown, and like it just looked like absolute carnage. But it's something that's never really happened to us before, so everyone's going all out. And I think now, looking back, I'm gutted I didn't go, to be fair, but it was mental watching it. And I think there's a group of lads that are into the band that we got quite friendly with who go on all the away days, so it's nice to go with them and enjoy it with other people. And stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a bit more rogue this season with some of the away days. I mean, being in the conference, but it's still been quite good to watch those games as well.
Yeah.
I've never seen West Ham in Europe, unfortunately, growing up. But the old phrase, European nights at Anfield, European nights at Celtic Park. What about European nights at the London Stadium? What was that like?
That's cool. Did you go to any of the games, Ollie?
Yeah, Lyon and Sevilla, and another one or two. I can't remember, but Sevilla at home was easily the best atmosphere I've ever experienced at the London Stadium. I mean, since it's a bowl and it's not really got room for an atmosphere, I think everyone on their feet the whole time. It was just constant cheering. It's like, I mean, we've always had a lot of, we've not had very much positivity as West Ham fans. So to actually be in like a major European tournament at home, it was just magical. And then obviously you get the flamethrowers and not fireworks, but all the light displays and stuff. It was just something that you never expect to see as a West Ham fan, to actually be a part of it. And I know I think I took about 5-6 days, because I'm not a season ticket holder. It took me about 5-6 days of constant refreshing just to try and get 2 tickets. Eventually 2 came up, and it was just like, right, this is it. It's actually happening. So it was easily the best atmosphere I've ever experienced at the Bowl, anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, since we left Upton Park, obviously the London Stadium's had a lot of stick for having no atmosphere. But I think pretty much every West Ham fan will agree that the game against Sevilla was just different. Like, the atmosphere was unreal. And we went on to win the game. Like, we were 1-0 down. We went on to win the game 2-0 and obviously go through to the next round. And so Sevilla were the favourites. Like, they've got a good European pedigree. And I think every West Ham fan will agree that that night was probably the best the atmosphere's ever been, and probably will be for quite a while.
100%.
Can West Ham get there again one day?
Yeah. Hopefully.
We were in the Conference League, so it'll be next season by the time we're there. But you have to win the Conference League to go to the Europa League, didn't you? So may as well do it this season. Spurs couldn't do it last season, so we might as well this season.
Well, the thing is we're not doing that. We're not doing that well in the league, but for some reason we've won every game so far in the Conference League. I think it's just the way we set up under Moyes. It just works really well in the European competitions, and I generally think we actually have got a chance of winning it, because obviously it is lower down than the Europa League, but it's still a good competition to win. Like, no West Ham fan's going to turn down winning a European competition. So fingers crossed, we'll get to the final.
I've already booked my hotel for the final as well. I know I'm tempting fate there, but
Not missing out on it this time. No chance.
it's in Prague, so it's a win-win.
Weekend out anyway.
And one of Europe's greatest cities, even though I've still not been. I'd love to one day. I've only ever heard good things about it.
Yeah.
Can they do it? Really? Can they do it, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Believe in them. How did you feel watching that Frankfurt second leg semi-final?
I mean, after I went on TalkSport after the first leg, when we lost 1-0, I think we lost the first leg because it was just a big occasion, and we went 1-0 down in like 2 minutes. And then, unfortunately, by the time that the second leg came about, I think we just perhaps Cresswell got a red early doors, like he did in the game before against Leon. And I think we just gave ourselves a bit too much to do. It was a shame. It was a real shame to go out in the semis, because I think obviously if we got through to the final, it would have been Rangers, and that would have been an incredible game. That would have been a really incredible game. But we did well to get as far as we did. Hopefully we can replicate it this year.
Can we just go over the conversation you had with Jason Cundy, please?
Oh yeah, so basically
Jason
Cundy was on. I think it was, who does he do the TalkSport? I think it was Jamie O'Hara, and he was on the wind up. Basically, we lost 2-1, and he kept just saying to me, he kept just going, "Well, if you take away the first goal in the first 2 minutes, you drew the game. So well done." And I was like, "No, we didn't draw the game. We lost the bloody game." And just was back and forth, and I think I've got it on film somewhere. But yeah, Cundy was on the wind up big time that night.
Got in for blood, Chelsea fans.
Yeah, he was.
Oh dear. What can you say? I mean, West Ham Rangers. I mean, that would have been biblical.
Yeah, it would have been.
Especially, basically, there's a pub in our village which we all go to called the Queen's Head, and there's a guy in there who goes in there pretty much all the time called Sandy, who's one of our good mates, who's from Scotland, and he's a massive Rangers fan. So we thought it was written in the stars that we were going to meet, to be fair. So we were all gutted when we lost, because that would have been unbelievable watching it down the pub with him. Yeah, he was gutted as well when they lost, but there we go.
And Sam, Arsenal, any European stories that you have over the years?
I've never been to an away game in Europe, but I say I've been to the majority of home European games, but just doesn't usually lead anywhere, I'm going to be honest.
Not in recent times, has it at all?
No. I think I can't remember what the last game I went to was before we got to the final, but I remember watching that at home, and that was depressing, getting pumped 4-1 by Chelsea.
The Europa League final.
Yeah. So everyone's forgotten that Alex Iwobi scored a really nice goal in that game, but it kind of flew under the radar because we got pumped 4-1 by Chelsea.
Yeah. Just one of those teams at the time, weren't they? I mean, so many bottle jobs at this club, if you know what I'm referring to. Which is something else I want to ask you about. AFTV. What are your thoughts?
I cannot stand them. I've met them all countless times because they just hang around outside the stadium, but they're just vapid.
Yeah, I strongly disagree. I love them.
You're saying that as a non-Arsenal fan, though.
Yeah,
it's entertaining. I told you. It's painful for me.
Yeah, I've been very open about this. There was generally a 2-year period where I completely idolised Ty. I thought he was unbelievable. I loved him.
But as one thing to say, you notice how they've dropped off now that we've started doing well.
Yeah.
Because they can only profit off of bad performances, getting angry. There's nothing to be angry about this season.
There's definitely not anything to be angry about. Playing beautiful football, mate.
Yeah.
Imagine if Ty got angry and started going negative. Now he wouldn't. But I've actually met him myself as well. Funnily enough, I can remember. So I'm based in Sheffield. I remember when Sheffield United were in the Prem and they beat you 1-0. I remember I was on the way back from training football, and I thought, I'll go and have a look over. I keep turning on the score. I thought we lost 1-0. I can remember. I remember speaking to DT after it had all finished. I met the late Claude as well. Remember him as well.
Yeah.
Then there's people like Mo and Turkish.
Yeah.
And yeah. I remember so at that time, obviously Emery was in charge, and you're wanting him to leave. And I actually said to DT, would you have Mourinho? He went, no. I'd rather have Wenger back than him.
Oh.
But no, it's definitely over the last couple of years made. I've loved Arsenal Fan TV. I'll be honest, I'll have my answer. But I've always been on YouTube when they've lost. Like, come on, what have you got for us?
My favourite tie stint on Arsenal Fan TV was during lockdown when I think Arsenal lost 2-1 to Brighton. Yeah. And I can't remember. Was it Mopai?
It was Neil Mopai. You're a cheat. Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Went up to the camera and went, Mopai, you're a cheat.
Hope Brighton get relegated.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh dear, it's something else. Right, let's go on to best and worst grounds. I want to, with the West Ham boys, especially talk about the London Stadium and what your honest thoughts are of it compared to Old Upton Park.
It's got better. Like we've had tickets since the first season. We've moved since we used to be in like the higher tier, and then we moved down by the pitch now. But I mean, in the first season, they didn't have like no Wi-Fi in the ground or anything. They were still figuring it out. But I think they've got things pretty tied on now, and it seems to be getting better. Now we've got like European football and stuff. It adds another layer and sort of makes it a bit more exciting than that. But I mean, it just doesn't beat Upton Park, does it? Having been to both.
No, definitely not. I think the first few seasons we were in it, because obviously it was used in the Olympics, it was a running track. And I was watching, I can't remember what game it was. It was, I think it was the first game we played there in the Prem when we played Bournemouth. And I watched highlights a few days ago, and it literally still looks like a running track with a few goalposts at the end. So I think it has got better, but I think there's no denying that it is hard to generate a substantial atmosphere like with Upton Park. I think most West Ham fans would say that they miss Upton Park. I think there's very few fans that would say they prefer the London Stadium to Upton Park. Like, I think it's been like 7 years now. Correct me on that. It might be a little bit less or a little bit longer. It's been a fair few years now, and I think most West Ham fans have sort of come to terms with it. But when we first moved, there was like outrage about it because the Upton Park was such a special ground, and it was like teams would literally be scared to go and play there. Like it was a really like it could be really intimidating. And I think the London Stadium has got better, but I don't think it will ever top the Upton Park, unfortunately.
I know it's out of your control as well, but both of us have got the first and second most expensive pint in the league, respectively.
Yeah, but that's not entirely true, because they say West Ham is £8, but I still pay $6.30 in a concourse.
£8? It ain't £8.
What was
I saw pictures that it was like $7.60 for a pint of Moretti.
I think they do Moretti, don't they? And they do Heineken, and they
do Foster's by my seat for £6.30. So I disagree.
Yeah,
really?
But you're drinking Foster's, so who's the real winner?
I think I got an Amstel for like $6.80.
Yeah, Amstel.
Other beer brands are available.
You trust us to make the right call rather than Foster's, I suppose. But Ollie, what do you think, Ollie, about the move?
I mean, I think both the boys are right. I mean, it's not Upton Park, but it's not the worst in the league by far. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it holds what 60, however many thousand people.
Yeah.
But it was never intended to be used as a football stadium, was it? I don't think it was it was built for the Olympics. So I don't think there's ever going to replicate the likes of the Den, where you've got like fans on top of each other, or even like Stamford Bridge, where you've got fans literally standing on top of each other and top of each other. And it's not, we're always going to be sat far back, and I've sat in the high heavens, and I've sat right behind the manager's like seat. So but the closer you are, the atmosphere is definitely there. But I think it's inclusive, because the younger families that want to come and see football only will sit at the back. But if you want to get a bit more involved, a bit lower down, you go close to the front. So it's quite inclusive in that regard. But it's no football ground, don't get me wrong. It's still, I mean, I think we all take the mick calling it the Bowl, and we sort of revel in the fact that it's nicknamed the Bowl because there's no atmosphere. But it's definitely getting better. They've obviously squared off the seats, and they're trying to make it more inclusive and adding the carpet and stuff for Antonio to roll around in. But it's just, there's nothing. Yeah, it's no Upton Park, but it's by no means the worst in my opinion.
Sam, as an Arsenal fan, what are your thoughts on this one? The West Ham. Now, obviously, you've got this move grounds yourself.
I mean, I just remember watching the last match that they had at Upton Park. So it was against United, wasn't it? And you went 1-0 down. But it was one of those places, and it just had such an atmosphere, that game, where you knew you were going to win.
Yeah.
It was completely written in the stars. Like, there was no way that West Ham were going to lose the last match at the Boleyn ground. So it has been a shame to see a ground with so much character sort of be lost in the Prem. But it's just the way that football's going at this point. It's always going to be bigger stadiums over historic classic ones.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this to a lot of people. I've described the London Stadium as an American stadium. What would you agree on that one, lads?
Very commercial. I think that's what springs to mind, which is kind of American in a way, isn't it? It's
a bit like the Spurs Stadium then.
I think Spurs have got it right in a way. I hate to say it, but
yeah, I was going to say Spurs' stadium is light years ahead of the London Stadium. As much as I hate to say it, it's light years.
I went to the new Spurs Stadium when we played them in the Carabao Cup, and we lost 2-0, 2-1, I think. I can't remember now. But I mean, the away end was really good. I really enjoyed it, and we had more than a lot. Like, they give you more, don't they, in the cup? It's like 10%, I think. So it was a brilliant atmosphere, and you could hear all the home fans as well. It was really loud, and there was loads of beer choice, loads of food choice. I mean, you can't really complain about that, can you? At West Ham, you can't. There's not that choice or anything. I think
it goes back to what I said though. Spurs Stadium was built purposely for a football team, whereas West Ham was converted from an Olympic stadium. So it's not. It was built for athletics and stuff and running tracks, and that's why it's so far back, because it wasn't built for football. They've just converted it to try and make it a football stadium, but it's still atmosphere's not there.
It was like someone's already touched on it. All because of commercial things, you know. It's all of this like ridiculous amounts of money involved in football, and that's why you're getting like a lot more interest from American buyers now, when you probably didn't 5 or 6 years ago. You got like Todd Bowley coming over wanting to play 4-4-3 formations and doing the north east south. Like, it's just the way football's going. It's getting commercialized, and that is ultimately why we moved away from Upton Park, was to go on to the sort of perceived next level. Hasn't worked out. Well, that's up for debate, but that's definitely why the move was made.
I just want to add on to that point as well with Tottenham's new ground. Built on the same site as White Hart Lane, pretty much. I mean, if you build the London Stadium or an equivalent on the same site as Upton Park, now that's a different story, because obviously the local businesses in that area suffer. And you're actually not actually in West Ham, are you? Well, in the London Stadium, are you? In Stratford. Yeah. Is that right?
Yes, it's a completely different area.
Yeah.
I've not actually been, but I know people that have been to the original In fact, I don't know if you want, there's a Mark Noble documentary that they released recently, because obviously he retired, and they went back to the original sort of area where it would have been, and it's just flats, loads of flats, and it's just disappointing. There's no real like memory of what it used to be at all.
I did look on Google Maps the other day, and you can always go back from like 22, 2021, 2020, sort of going back the years, and you see it slowly getting more and more built up, and it's a sad sight because they look exactly the same as the flats anywhere else that are new built in London. It's not even got any sort of character to it. It's just literally been bulldozed and made to look exactly like the rest of the city.
That's where I think when Arsenal moved from Highbury to the Emirates, they sort of did things right because they built flats where Highbury was. Don't get me wrong, but they kept where the pitch is now a communal garden. They've still got like the manager's office, the changing rooms. They're still intact, but it's basically just flats, but in the stand of Highbury. So you can still see that it's the skeleton of Highbury, if you will. It's still there.
Yeah, for sure. So what are the best grounds that you've been to, guys, football-wise? Very in-depth conversation about grounds with character there. You can be as biased as you like. I don't mind.
I've got a rogue one, a really rogue one. It might have been because of the game, but a few months ago, I went to Pride Park, which is obviously home to Derby County. I was just up there, and a friend of mine said, "I've got 2 spare tickets to the game. They're playing Peterborough at home. Do you want to come?" I was like, "Do you know what? Go on then." I enjoy football, so I like going and watching games. And Peterborough had a player sent off, but sort of just after half time, and then they went 1-0 up, and I thought, "Oh, what have I wasted my Saturday doing this for?" And then I think Derby scored in like the 89th minute, and then like the 90th plus 1 minute to win 2-1. And I'm not a Derby fan, but everyone was going absolutely mental. I'm like, it was just really, and it's nice. It's like it's a stadium, but one tier, and everyone's on top of the pitch. I kind of like that. There's loads of grounds like that. I think, like Reading, the Majeski. If that had more people that went, I mean, it's dead. No one ever goes and watches games. I went to Union Reading. I went loads. No one ever went. If people went there, that would be an amazing stadium as well, I think.
Yeah.
They're all League One Championship grounds, aren't they? And I think they're the special ones for me, anyway. But yeah.
I think I'm going to give the same answer for both, but it'll just have to be 2 different games. Emirates. Probably the worst time I've seen it is when we were at home to Ostersunds, Graham Potter's first trip to England with the Swedish team. It was snowing, it was wet, it was cold, it was windy, and we lost 2-1. And I think there were, I'd say, less than 10,000 Arsenal fans there. It was probably one of the most depressing games I've seen, but I think I could allude to either the Spurs or the Liverpool game this season is probably the best atmosphere I've seen at the Emirates.
The 3-2 game.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
I hate to bring it up.
No, don't worry about it. I'm all right. I mean, you'd been very surprised to hear where I was that night. Goodison Park, of all places, funnily enough. The whole big cheer, and I'm looking like that. Yeah, but Angus, what about you, mate?
I mean, I don't like to say it, but the worst stadium I've been to is the London Stadium. I went to the Blackburn game last week, the West Ham Blackburn game where we lost 10-9 on penalties. That was demoralising. That was really demoralising. Less said about that, the better. I think the best game I've been to, I don't really remember much about it, but it was the first game I ever went to at the Upton Park. I just remember, obviously, when you're a kid, everything's like so much more sensitised, but I'll never forget like the first time I walked out and saw the players warming up. It was unbelievable. Like even to this day, I have faint memories of it, but it was just unbelievable. To be honest, I'm actually still gutted that we've left Upton Park, but yeah, it was a very good ground.
One ground I really would love to have seen.
Yeah.
If only it had been ground up in a couple of years earlier, right?
Yeah.
Hey ho. Ollie, what about you, mate?
I've not had the chance to go to many grounds. I've been to Leeds. What's it, Leeds? Terrible with names. What's it called?
Elland
Ellen
Road.
Road.
Ellen Road. That's it. That was all right, but I mean, it was all right. That's all I can say.
It's supposed to be have a good atmosphere, though, isn't it, Ollie?
Yeah, it's got a good atmosphere. Yeah, got a good atmosphere. It's just a stadium in Leeds. It's nothing. I mean, if I was a Leeds fan, I'd probably be quite happy with it, but I'm not, so I can't be. But I have to say, one ground I'd love to go to, and I think the boys can relate, is Luton. Bit gutted that they didn't get promoted to the Prem. Namely, because I'd love to walk through someone's front living room to just get into the ground, because they're built in terraced houses. But yeah, gutted they're not promoted. But hopefully they get promoted so we can go to an away day there to a terraced house.
I've heard that if they do get promoted, that stadium's not Premier League regulation though, so they'll have to.
I think I heard something like that as well. That they'll have to either move elsewhere whilst they rebuild, move to Wembley.
A similar ground, which is in the Prem, is Crystal Palace. Is all like within, and that was my first ever away day. Me and Benj went, and if you're sitting too far back in the away end, the terrace roof stops you from actually seeing most of the. If the ball goes above, like, it's not even sort of 5 meters, you can't see the ball, which is a bit bizarre, to be fair. The atmosphere is good, but it's similar to Bournemouth as well. It's quite a small kind of style stadium, but yeah. And they have an eagle which flies from crossbar to crossbar before the game.
Nah, he died, mate. The eagle's dead.
Oh, I see. It was good when I was there.
Let's go on with that question. Ollie's brought it up. One ground you would love to go to. I mean, Luton's one I'd love to go to soon. I mean, it is on its way out, unfortunately. I mean, I could have gone last Saturday, to be honest, with my Rotherham friend. Didn't bother. But yeah, kind of throws it there for mine. Anybody else? Any ground you'd love to go to anywhere in the world? Anywhere in the world?
I can't remember what the stadium's called, but I think just to experience it, go and see Boca Juniors.
How many people come on here and say that?
I know.
And I'm one of them.
Yeah, it's a popular answer for a reason, because that goes above and beyond it being a football game. That's just, I mean, you're fighting for your life at some points, but just to experience all of those people going that mad, I think it's something that you need to be there to see.
Has he took the words out of your mouth, Joe?
Hello?
Has he taken the words out of your mouth there?
No, to be fair. Oh, that does sound fun. I think I'd like to go to Dortmund's ground.
Yeah,
was it called the Yellow Wall?
The Yellow Wall, yeah.
Yeah.
Signal Iduna Park. Yeah, the Yellow Wall.
I've done a tour of Ajax's stadium when I was in Amsterdam. That was really good. That seems like a good stadium. I've never been to a game, but I feel like that'd be a good atmosphere to go to as well, because Amsterdam's an amazing city. So
yeah, I was going to say Dortmund Stadium as well, the Yellow Wall. I quite like to go to the San Siro, and also, like, just because I want to see him play football this season, I'd quite like to go to St James's Park. My mate at Newcastle, he lives quite close to the ground, and on when they're playing, you can hear the roar from, like, he sent me videos from his room. You can literally hear the stadium from, like, you can't see it, but you can hear the stadium from his room. And I think I don't really get jealous often in football, but Newcastle this year, I'm big time jealous of them. I think Eddie Howe's doing a brilliant job, and yeah, I'd love to go and watch a home game, see what the atmosphere's saying.
I said this a couple of weeks ago and I got ridiculed, but I reckon Howe's going to be the first English manager to win the Prem.
I don't know.
Well, we've all gone quiet. I think that's for a reason.
Maybe.
I'll put it out there.
I think it's a bit too soon this year, But
well, obviously he's not going to win it this year.
Well-
That's not what I'm
well,
saying.
the thing is though, how was definitely seen as a stepping stone for Newcastle. I don't think they thought he was going to do this well. So it's interesting to see how they're gonna, because obviously they're not going to sack him because he's doing really well. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see whether they stick with him or whether Newcastle can keep this form going forward.
They make the right 2 or 3 signings in January. They're going to stay in top 4.
Yeah,
the way they're playing.
They're in top 4 at the minute without Maximan, without Isaac. He's injured as well. So
Exactly.
they're playing with Almiron. Who would have thought Jack Grealish definitely wouldn't, when Almiron's bagged, 7 or 8 goals? Mental. He's in the form of his life.
I'll tell you one thing, though, with Grealish. not really doing so much for his City. If there's one club who would make a good signing of him, alongside Almiron at Newcastle, wouldn't he? I think he'd do well there. A club like them at the moment.
Him and Saint Maximan fighting for that left-hand side is something I wouldn't mind seeing.
That'd be mad.
Crazy. Right, next question. Let's not fall out, but who's the best and worst fans you've come across?
Oh,
Well, maybe we're all in agreement. Who knows?
are we sticking with England, or are we going all out?
All out?
Best this season with me, Anderlecht at home. I think it was Anderlecht. They're flares in the away end.
Yeah.
Ben's got a picture, and there's like, when you come into the actual seats, it's just like a concrete tunnel, which then you go up the steps, and then there's like the little landing, and you go to your seat. There was about 4 blokes with flares, and there's men standing in front of them. You could just see the silhouettes of these away fans. And I just remember looking, all the lights in the stadium were off because they do like a light show before. Looking over and just being like, "Oh my god, it's just, I don't want to cross path with these blokes after the game." And they were singing all game. So fair play to them. Bournemouth were pretty poor this season at home as away fans. I'm not going to lie.
Pretty boring game, to be fair. There was nothing for them to get that excited about.
Yeah.
Not fair enough.
I think the worst fans are. Oh, go on, Ollie.
Sorry, Angus. Carry on.
The worst fans I've ever come across by an absolute country mile, and I've got to say this quietly because my roommate supports them, but it's Manchester City by an absolute mile. It's not even close. Not even close. Manchester City by a mile. The best fans, I thought Everton's away support was quite good, but then again, every away support at the London Stadium sounds good because it's just they always seem to manage to, I don't know, out-sing the West Ham fans. But I think Everton's away support was good. Blackburn's away support was really good last week. I think Leeds have got quite a good away support. But yeah, Manchester City by a mile were the worst fans I've ever come across.
Well, it's funny to say, I've actually been to the Etihad.
Yeah.
And, I rate grounds on my blog, and I rate it on atmosphere.
Yeah.
And the Etihad's, I gave it 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
I don't want to come across as bitter, having links to Liverpool, but
yeah,
it really was like being at a theatre. Clap, standing ovation, cheer. I mean, just sat there. And the games, it's a training exercise. They're playing Southampton in the League Cup a couple of years ago. This is off the back of a 9-0 Southampton next game away at City. It's rubbish.
Yeah.
Have a bit of passion.
It's like they've just become desensitized because of all the money they spend. I don't know. It's odd. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of passionate Manchester City fans out there, but it's weird. It's really weird.
Absolutely. Ollie, what about you, mate?
I just have to agree with Gus on City being the worst. Because I went to the West Ham City at home this season, and Haaland scoring, you just heard a slight little ripple. It's pretty much just like they expected him to score, so it's nothing special to celebrate about. I can't comment on every single game because I don't get the chance to go to all of them. But I think, City. I think Watford last season at home weren't great. They didn't have much to fight for either because they were in a relegation battle. But you thought at least get behind the team. But you've heard nothing. But I think just based on what I've seen, I didn't go to the game, but I think I tend to agree with Joe. Just from what I've seen photos, videos, what I've heard people say, it has to be Anderlecht at home. When Anderlecht fans are away, they seem to be the best. But just I didn't get the chance to see it in person. But yeah, it's one that I definitely sort of wish I could, but I didn't get a chance.
Fair play. And let's finish with the Arsenal. Sam, what about you, mate?
This season in Europe, both Zurich and Bodo Glimt's fans were jumping for the whole 90 minutes. No matter what the result was, they were consistently going. And the last game was Zurich. They must have had about 70 or 80 flares just that they let off throughout the game. So we just sat there going, stewards did a really good job. Stewards did a really good. Like the people in club level above the away fans couldn't see because it was just thick smoke. Couldn't see any of the game. But I do have to agree with Gus. Leeds have usually got a very good away support. That's predominantly true. And going purely off of this season, with who I've seen at the Emirates, I'm gonna have to go with Spurs. I know that they were, and yeah, I've said it. I will die on this hill. I know that they were losing 3-1 away at a North London derby, but you look at the 75th minute, less than 1,000 people in that away section. That's all I'll say on the topic. Yeah, that's all I'll say on the topic.
Never leave a game early.
No.
Ever.
Never leave a game early.
Don't know what you're going to miss.
The one thing, when I go West Ham, I go with my dad, my granddad, and Benj, and we never ever leave early. I think my granddad left one game early, and my dad didn't speak to him for a couple of weeks because he said, "Why not? You paid for the whole game. Why did you leave in the 85th minute? You don't save much time, really. I don't think, but
no." And you think as well that Tottenham fans would have learnt a lesson because there was one year. Sorry to bring it up, Sam, but I will.
Yep.
Where Arsenal were winning 4-2.
Yep.
Jermaine Genius scores to make it 4-3. And then Modric has a shot. It's the post. Lennon scores. It's 4-4. And again, there weren't that many Tottenham fans in the away, but the ones that were, well, I bet they have a story to tell.
Yeah. So Lanzini against Tottenham as well when we played him.
Yeah.
He scored that rocket.
That was a huge goal. 3-0 down as well.
Yeah.
I remember watching all of the Spurs fans' reactions on Twitter to that goal.
Unbelievable, mate. Iconic.
I don't want to know. Right, so we'll ask the question that we ask everybody. We'd like to sum up football in 3 words. What would it be and why? So 3 separate words or a 3-word phrase. Who's going to go first?
Gus, you look like you're raring to go.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I was thinking.
Okay, I've got one available.
Go
on then.
Neil Warnock's game.
I love that. Absolutely love that.
Oh.
Neil Warnock's game.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think that's going to be beaten. That's class.
So we're playing Leeds tomorrow. We've got a gig in Leeds, and we saw that he's doing some live dates. So we asked our manager sort of half-heartedly, we're like, do you fancy driving us up to Scarborough the day after we play Leeds so we can go and watch Neil Warnock live? And he was no.
That man is an icon.
Absolute icon.
So the Hammers boys, what have you got?
Ollie, you go for me. I'm still thinking.
I don't know.
The 3 words I'd go with, and I don't want this to sound wet or anything, but this is generally the first 3 words I came up with, was a captivating roller coaster. And my reasons for that are that I don't know if I'm looking at this way too literally, but I think it's amazing how football is such like a common ground for everyone. And although it's constantly seems to be up and down all the time, certainly as recently has gone a bit more up and down for West Ham fans, but you still stick with it, and yeah, it's just such like a common ground for everyone. So yeah,
it's a very good one, a very informative one though. I like that one.
Yeah.
Joe, do you regret not going first?
Yeah, I'm done. No, I've got 3. Culture. Obviously, even visiting other clubs in England, you see different things and how football is. I mean, I think Northerners it's much more intense. Family, I go to football with my family, but it's like your football club is like one big family because you're all sort of going for the same thing and all want the same outcome. And then finally, my final word is religion. I mean, some people are very, very, very much religion related when it comes to football and certain players they may think as a god. But yeah, no, I think it's one of those things that you follow it, don't you? And you it's like you go to church or wherever once a week. People go to the football once a week, and that's your thing. So I think that was an appropriate word. But yeah, those are my 3. Not as good as Sam, but there we go.
Culture, family, religion. Have we got our best till last, Ollie?
I'm going to go on trend at the moment. Faith in Moyes. Because he's pulled us out of the dark once too many times. So I'm going to have faith in Moyes, and that's where I'm going to leave that.
Drop the mic.
Lads, thanks a billion for coming on. We've just got one last question for all of you. Where next for lock-in?
Just keep doing what we're doing, I suppose. I mean, writing more songs, playing as many gigs as we can, and obviously along the way, hopefully we'll get opportunities like playing on Soccer AM. But I suppose the main thing is to just enjoy what we're doing, because obviously we're in a lucky position that we've had, or hopefully we'll have some of the opportunities. And yeah, the only way is up.
So yeah, we've got our new single "Sweet Love" is out at midnight, so you can stream that anywhere. We've got a couple of gigs. We've got a tour. So we've got Leeds tomorrow. We've got Manchester on the 2nd of December, Brighton on the 3rd, Liverpool on the 10th, and then we've just recently announced our biggest ever gig. We're playing the Garage in London on April the 8th, and tickets are available for all of those. So fancy coming along? Stop by.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, darling, if you're watching, you said to us, let's find a date to watch the Women's Super League. Well, I'm saying to you now, if you're watching, let's find a date to watch these guys. This is going to be something special, I'm sure. But lads, thanks a million for coming on. And
thank you for having us.
Thank you, mate.
Look, we'll see you in London sometime. Hopefully, we can get a ticket and watch West Ham or Arsenal. It's only those 2 grounds on a personal level. But no, lads, I'd love to come and see you live one day, and I'd love to come and meet you in person as well. So thanks a million.
Thank you very much
for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Guys, this has been the FANA Fan Podcast. We'll see you next time.